Hello everyone, Man-Witch of the West here, coming to you with some advice. And Foxy, of course. Can't forget you, can we, my lovely Foxy Foxington? No, you're not an afterthought. Silly thing. Now then, shall you tell them what we're going to give advice on, or shall I? It's not a stupid topic, Foxy. It's very important. No. It can happen throughout all of life. What I'm coming to talk to you today, well, what we are coming to talk to you today about, is nothing other than bullying, which can pervade well into adult life. Intimidation, scare tactics, it's all one and the same, you understand. My hair's wet because I just got out of the shower. Deal with it. Now, I'll be separating this up into segments, as with this topic, well, bullying quite often takes different forms for the different stages of life in which it occurs. From schoolyard bullying through to the sorts of things you might... Well, it all depends on the type of relationship and when in life it's happening. Naturally, there's bullying on the schoolyard, all through high school, perhaps even into college. Or university, even. If one could stomach academia long enough. I couldn't. Doesn't agree with me. Intelligent though I am, I just... Well, enough about that. It can also occur in the workspace. And I have less experience with that, but I'm fairly familiar with the sorts of things that can occur. I watch a lot of television. Now then. If it comes to a physical confrontation, as is most likely in childhood, remember, they're all bang and no substance. Not really sure why I'm telling you this. I doubt I have any children in my audience. If I do, well, they probably shouldn't be watching. I swear a fair bit. If you are watching this, don't tell your parents. If your parents are watching this, well, I'm sure they can use this advice. Pass it on to you, Herr Kinder. You might use it. Now, bullying in school could be in the form of someone bigger than you being very aggressive, pushing you around, perhaps even hitting you, beating you up. Or it could be less physical, but still relatively severe. Name-calling might not seem like much, but the cumulative effect, especially if it could come about in such a way that the entire school body, the student body, were turned against you, well, no one wants to be a pariah. We are, of course, a social species. Being cut off from our network of support can be very damaging. So, let's say they're all bluster and bang and they attempt to harm you physically. I suggest either run fast, run far, or, as that's more of an avoidance tactic, simply, well, it's most likely that you're smaller than them, yes? Physically weaker? No. Use your agility to your advantage. Perhaps take some martial arts classes. We could all benefit from that. If you can get behind them, it's no big deal. Now let's try, they try to punch you. Block, grab, roll, snap. What am I doing? Block. Snap. You could just straight up break their arm. But I'm sure you don't want to do that. Would end the problem in a hurry, but oh, then you'd get into trouble, wouldn't you? I guess use their own weight against you. Be subtle about it. Move out of the way in such a way that they trip over themselves, or over your carefully placed ankle. I won't tell if you won't. They fall, they're humiliated, not you, and you most likely won't have to deal with them again. Or, perhaps, they'll take grave offense to this and become even more of a nuisance. Just defend yourself. Don't show them that you're afraid. They're afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of being an outcast. So they make other people feel afraid, to make themselves feel better. Deep down, all bullies are cowards, loves. So, show them that you're not the one who's scared. As for the other form of bullying, where it's more verbose, I recommend, well, if you can outwit them, that's one thing. But if it becomes a back and forth of each of you antagonizing the other with more and more verbal abuse, well, that's not really getting you anywhere. You could try avoiding them. It might help. Although they do tend to have a way of finding you. You could try... Well, ignoring them isn't really going to work. I don't know, just... It's the same principle, really. Show them you're not afraid. Show them that they don't bother you. Even if that's all bluff, just show them. Just don't let them bother you. Now, that's not to say that you can just ignore them, no. You ignore them... I mean, people used to suggest ignoring them and eventually they'll go away. It doesn't really work. In theory, it works. However, they'll likely be very persistent. And there's a good chance you'll break first. So, if you can, ignore them consistently for an extended period of time, eventually they might just leave you alone. Unlikely, but it might work. You can give it a go. If you end up losing your temper with them, not gonna work so well. You could try talking to them, saying that you understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, that it won't work. Just straight out tell them, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not intimidated by you. I don't know. Honestly, I don't have a final solution for this. Just remember that they're not as powerful as they make themselves out to be. They can't control you unless you let them. So don't let them. Simple as that, really. It seems more complicated in practice, but fundamentally, just don't let them get you down. Focus on the positive in your life. Focus on what's good, and the bad won't seem as bad, Now, that's not to say you can just ignore the problem, sweep it under the rug. you will have to do something about it eventually. What that is most likely going to vary from situation to situation. Hmm. I suppose if this particular predator is preying on many people, gang together, form a mob, intimidate them, and they should stop. Of course, then you're the bully, but... Is bullying the bully a good idea? Should one fight fire with fire? Hurricane with hurricane? Seems it would not work. But perhaps it might. Perhaps it might. I don't know. What do you think, Foxy? I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Good grief. I didn't know you even knew so many crude words. Good grief, Foxy. That's... wow. So sorry about that, everyone. Goodness gracious me. Foxy, my dear. You're a bad one, aren't you? Someone is in a bloody bad mood today. What? Wake up on the wrong side of the foxhole? Yeah. Fine. Be a grumpy arse, I don't care. Now, in the office, they're in a place of work. They're more likely to be very subtle in the way they want to cause you pain, misery. They might cut you down with what they say about your work or your personality. They may gossip about you to your co-workers, do all sorts of nasty things. But I think it's quite likely that they'll be passive-aggressive. Again, don't let them get to you. Now, in this instance, a good way to fight fire is with fire. It takes a thief to catch a thief, and a passive-aggressive so-and-so to deal with someone passive-aggressive. So, for every slight and barb they hurl your way, return it in kind. It should work. If it doesn't make them stop, it should, at the very least, give you a level of gratification. And who knows? The world's a funny place. You might end up becoming friends with the bugger. Now, on to the last segment. What do you do when the one bullying you isn't a peer, but someone with authority over you? What do you do then? What do you do when it's a parent, or a relative, or a teacher, your boss? What do you do when someone to whom you must hold respect is the one who is being disrespectful? Now that is tricky. You couldn't do something obvious because they hold the power and they can, well, they have the ability to punish you for any slight. So, I suppose one thing you could do is you could go over their head to the headmaster or another teacher or your boss's boss or whatever. But what do you do when they stand alone at the top of the of the tower, what do you do then? Good question, I'm afraid. Well, tour de force may be the answer. Now here's the rub. In this situation, you can't simply out-intimidate them. You have to find a line, you know? You have to toe the line between showing them that you're not afraid of them and actually, you know, giving them ammunition for recompense, which is rather difficult to say the least. Well, good luck with that. Oh, no, of course I'm going to go into more detail, love. You know me. I'd never end on something so unproductive. It's not counterproductive, it's actually quite helpful. Now look, you. Just because you're the most cute, adorable, precious thing in the world, okay, I can't stay mad at you, I'm sorry. I look into his eyes and I forget why I'm mad. Oh, right, yeah. Your boss. Well. I don't know. Record your conversations and go to human resources? That could work. With a teacher, there's always other members of faculty and the headmaster, headmistress. But of course, if they're the one who's bullying you, the headmaster, headmistress, or the dean of students, or, you know, someone very high up the chain, it becomes a little more tricky. Well, I suppose there are limits to the ways in which they can bully you. Short of, you know, actually committing crime. So, I suppose you could just call them out. Tell them that they're bullying you. They may not even realize it. If they do know that they're bullying you, then obviously they're not going to stop just because you've said what's happening. But at least you've initiated a dialogue, most likely in the form of an argument. But well, with any luck, that'll be the first step. From there, I'm afraid you're on your own. It exceeds my expertise. Foxy, do you know anything? Oh, I'm sorry. He doesn't know anything either. Look, not everyone speaks Fox, okay? It's not racist, it's a statement of fact. Not everyone speaks Fox. Hell, sometimes I don't even understand you. I understand you can't exactly speak English, you don't have the right throat for human languages. Oh well. Well, I hope you found this helpful, loves. We'll see you next time. Ciao.